Okay, so before you start watching this video, you should have went and got a paper copy from Ms. Harrison of this article. Well, it's kind of like an opinion piece that somebody wrote. It's called "Students Who Lose Recess Are the Ones Who Need It Most." And your copy of it won't be colorful like this, but it should have these boxes at the top. And these boxes at the top should match 4 highlighters that you also borrowed from Ms. Harrison, unless you happen to have these color highlighters yourself. And you're all super studious, and I'm sure that you do. But you should have a blue highlighter, a yellow highlighter, an orange one, and a pink one. Now it's kind of a purpley pink, but a pink one. And you should have this paper in front of you, and I want you to follow along with me, and you're going to highlight what our objective here is, to kind of dissect this argumentative piece of writing, essay, article, whatever you want to call it. Just like with in science class in biology, you dissect something to see how it all fits together, okay? The parts of the frog, if that's what you're dissecting, we're going to do that with this essay. So here are the 4 things that we're looking for. The sentence that most clearly states the author's main argument, and you took some notes on that already, and you can have that out in front of you during this activity, and you should certainly have those notes in front of you when you're doing this on your own for practice, and of course for your assessment. You're free to use those notes for that. Then we're looking for, and we'll highlight that author's main argument in blue when we find it. And then we're going to be highlighting the author's sub-arguments or reasons that support this main argument. We're going to highlight all of that in yellow. We're going to be hunting for evidence and highlighting that with orange. And as it says here, should be quote and paraphrase, quotes or paraphrases that will state where that information is coming from. And then we're going to be hunting for anything about the opponent's perspective. Anytime that the author of this essay mentions the opponent's side or something that stands in opposition to what they are arguing, we're going to highlight that in pink. So before, I would suggest you pause this video and read this article in its entirety first. I'm not going to bore you by reading that to you, but it's always good practice to read through what you're going to be kind of analyzing all as one piece before you start dicing it up. But the first thing that we're looking for is the author's main argument, and I'm going to keep reading until I find it. Even if I see some of this other stuff first, I'm going to read all the way through until I find the author's main argument, because how can I know what are reasons or sub-arguments that support that? Or how can I know what the opponent's perspective is, or anything else, if I don't first know this, which is what the author's main argument is. So I need to be looking for that first. So the title usually will give you a hint, or it should, if it's written well, as to what the author is going to be arguing. And keep that in mind when you're writing your own research essay and trying to title it. Your title should clue the reader in as to what you're going to be arguing. So it says, students who lose recess are the ones who need it most. So we're looking for a statement that's in line with that. So here we go. It says, despite overwhelming evidence that periods of unstructured play and social interaction are a crucial part of children's cognitive, academic, physical, and mental wellness, schools continue to take away recess privileges as a penalty for academic or behavioral transgressions. I've done it many times when students fail to hand in assignments or when a child acts up in a class. I've taken their recess privilege hostage. I did it both as a way of punishing for bad behavior or as a way to carve out a few extra minutes of learning time in an otherwise packed day. So first impressions right off the bat, without doing any further research, I can tell that this author, Jessica Leahy, is or was a teacher. Okay, so it's written from a teacher's perspective. So far, just stating facts, not really pushing forward an argument. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading to find that argumentative statement, the thesis, so to speak. Next paragraph. Unfortunately, I'm not alone. According to a Gallup poll commissioned by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, 77% of school principals report that they withhold recess as punishment, even as they simultaneously, meaning at the same time, sing the praises of recess as a factor in academic, cognitive, and social development. In that same report, 8 to 10 principals acknowledge that time to play has a positive impact on achievement, and 2/3 of principals state that students listen better after recess and are more focused in class. So I can already tell I'm going to be highlighting some evidence over here because they're citing polls and things like that. I still don't have an argumentative statement. Remember, according to your notes, argumentative statements usually are some kind of should statement, something like that. So let's keep reading. In response to this common disciplinary practice, as well as the overall declining rates in duration of recess in this country, the American Academy of Pediatrics recently issued a policy statement, The Crucial Role of Recess, to set the record straight and make recommendations to schools. Their stance is unequivocal, meaning it can't be argued with. Recess offers cognitive, meaning brain functions, social, emotional, and physical benefits that may not be fully appreciated when a decision is made to diminish it. In other words, schools should keep recess on the schedule, and teachers like me shouldn't take it away. Here we are. Bingo, jackpot. The end of this paragraph, okay, we have a statement where the author is making a direct argument, making a statement about what should and should not be. Schools should keep recess. Teachers should not take it away. We got a 2-for-1 here. So back to our color coding scheme. We are going to highlight the author's main argument or thesis in blue. Okay, so we're going to grab that sentence right there that I just grabbed, and you are going to use a physical highlighter. I'm going to use a digital one. Highlight that statement blue. Now we need to comb back everything up to this point and highlight these other things that we see. So anytime that we see sub-arguments that support that statement, anytime we see evidence, anytime we see the opponent's perspective mentioned. So let's start from the top. Despite overwhelming evidence that periods of unstructured play and social interaction are a crucial part of children's cognitive, academic, physical, and mental wellness, okay, all of that right there, that I would call a sub-argument because it supports this thesis statement. These are all reasons why this thesis statement is true. It's true that we shouldn't take it away because of this right here, because that play helps with all of these things here. So use your yellow highlighter to highlight that part right there. Now we started this sentence with the word despite this evidence. Okay, so the rest of the sentence is going to tell us what schools do in spite of that knowledge. So I would call this, the rest of this paragraph is what the opponent's perspective is. Because the opponent would say, well, we have to take those privileges away to punish students for things that they've done wrong. Okay? So anytime that the author is bringing in the opponents or something that lies in contradiction to the main argument, you're going to highlight that with pink. So that's kind of how that paragraph looks when you're done. Let's look at the next paragraph. Now this is where evidence starts coming in. And evidence should announce itself, and it does right here, according to a Gallup poll, okay? And you should keep that in mind as you are putting in your own evidence. Look at how this professional writer does this. According to a Gallup poll commissioned by, okay? And then it drops the information. But before it drops the information, it's going to tell you where it comes from, okay? 77% of principals report they withhold recess as punishment, even though they sing the praises of blah, 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 blah. In that same report, 8 to 10 principals acknowledge, okay? And then we have an actual quote from this poll. So this is all going to be evidence. And as it says up here, we're going to do evidence in orange. And see, it states where the information is coming from. So keep your eyes peeled for hints like that. According to blah, blah, blah. And then it drops the information. So that's how evidence announces itself. And that's how you should introduce your own evidence in your own research essay. All right, let's look at this paragraph here. In response to this common disciplinary practice, as well as the overall declining rates and duration of recess in this country, the American Academy of Pediatrics recently issued a policy statement. So here we have again, okay, the American Academy of Pediatrics issuing a policy statement to set the record straight. Their stance is unequivocal, and then it tells us what information came from the American Academy of Pediatrics. So all of this is evidence, so that needs to be orange. So this is what this looks like so far. So this is a specific style of argument. There's not a name for it, but you can see that this person did not drop their stance until all the way down here, and before they did it, okay, they kind of gave some reasoning behind it and background information. They talked about their opponent's perspective. They started dropping research, all before they stated what they are going to argue. Now, we're not going to write the same style of argument for our junior research essay. Ours will be structured a little bit differently, but there are some similarities. So just like this author does, you are definitely going to be mentioning your opponent's perspective early on in your writing, okay? And that's very important. So that's page 1 of this. Gives you an idea. I'm going to attach the completed. I'm going to do the rest of this off the video, and certainly I can answer questions about it if you have it. And in the next video, I'll talk about how I do this down here. But this is an idea, step by step, of how you're going to be highlighting this as you go. So you have a choice going forward. You can try to highlight the rest on your own and then take a look at my quote-unquote answer key to see how I did it, and we can have that discussion. I would challenge you to do that. But if you feel like you still need to take a look at how I do it, then just take a look at the key and highlight yours to match, and kind of take note of questions you have about my process as you go.